Hello, everybody. Today is Friday, December 20th. This is a festive edition of the COPS office hours meeting. I think we have a fairly light agenda and probably lighter attendance than normal, but we will go through the agenda and make sure that this is put on YouTube. A reminder as such, this meeting is being recorded and will be put on the internet, and please be mindful of our code of conduct. I put a link to our agenda in the chat, and please feel free to add items to that should you want to. I see people are doing that, which is wonderful. And there are a half dozen plus items on the agenda already. So we can go through those, I guess, hopefully. Yeah, let's go through those and see where that takes us. So Eric, you have the first item on the list around EDE testing.
Yeah, so I was actually reading my issue because I couldn't remember what it was. But I've noticed that we're failing COPS post submit push to staging, and I don't know what's going on with that. And I was wondering if you could provide a little bit more clarity on that, and if there's anything that we can do to get that better so that we're not failing.
Yes. We added a post submit job that is supposed to work towards the idea. Well, you know, there's this like working group Kate's Infra, which is building sort of providing Docker or container registries and non-container buckets to all the projects. And the idea is that we'll have this automated promotion process, or we'll have a structured promotion process. And ideally we get to an automated promotion process. The first step is that on every merge to master, we should build our images and push them into what's called a staging bucket, which basically is, it's a hosted bucket, but is, sorry, staging repo for, which is a project repo from which we could then promote to release, but isn't really considered as trusted. I mean, it's still trusted, but it's not as, it doesn't, it's, all it means is that some code got to master.
Okay.
And so we added that job. I don't think we were really expecting it to work. It really didn't work when we first started it.
Okay.
And now I think it's closer to working, but I need to look into it, as I think anyone could look into it. I created the job. I have more context on what it is should be doing. But as far as I know, basically it should be that we have a job. It runs as a post submit, i.e. after a commit lands on master, it runs. It's supposed to run in GCP Google Cloud Builder. It's supposed to build our, well, it needs, the end goal is that it pushes our containers into the GCR.
The GCR for the staging images.
Exactly.
Yep.
And if that works, that's great. It is, even if it's failing, it isn't, it's new functionality. So it isn't a test, and it isn't like, you know, so we aren't failing, but it would be great to make some progress on that. I can have a look at and see if I recognize what's gone wrong, but yeah, that is the state of what that is.
Okay, cool. I just saw that it was failing on every single commit master, and that was, it just has an ugly X.
Yeah, that does look bad, doesn't it?
So yeah, one of us can take a look at it. That's another thing that I'm excited for Christmas, is that I have time off from work to work on COPS. So yay. I look forward to being here this week. So thanks for the clarification.
Thanks, Eric. All right, Hackman, a question which I might be moot, but for people that don't know, Hackman, we got containerd in, Hackman contributed support for containerd into the master branch, so that will land in COPS 118, I guess.
Yeah, that's the plan, I think.
And so I guess your first question is moot, right? There's what's left for containerd before it can be merged, right?
Yes, but let's say that it changed a bit. I wanted to know what's left for it to be kind of at least ready as you see it. From what I understand, we have to limit it, so containerd as a runtime for 1.18 plus, right?
So yes, there's a couple of things. First of all, we don't want to change the behavior of the existing versions. So we just need to make sure that like that was my, so like, for example, on 1.16 or 1.17, or so the clever thing that you did was you took our Docker install, and you said Docker is actually installing Docker and Containerd, and so we should treat an install of Docker as for beyond a certain version, the ones that install Containerd separately, we should actually use the full Containerd install, and therefore we have a little bit more control over it. I just want to like check that that didn't break our sort of backwards compatibility guarantees for any of our released versions. So that's something that I can do or anyone can do. But then I think that's sort of one class of thing, which is to make sure that we haven't like made a mistake type thing. The other one is like, when should we turn on Containerd? By default, I guess?
No, by default, I think it should be like a little later until when people, but you said that you wouldn't like people to be able to say, hey, I want to use Kubernetes 110 with Containerd, I think.
Oh, so I don't, okay. So I don't think, the PR turned out to be fairly big, right? So I don't think we should backport it to kops previous versions.
No, not backported, but
right.
if someone uses kops 118 and chooses Kubernetes, I don't know, 110 or whatever,
Right.
should we let them or?
I think, yes, I think we should let them. If you explicitly say, I want this version of Containerd, I think that's okay. Like, we're not gonna, like, that's
Okay.
sort of on you, but like that is, I don't think we should stop them doing that. We might, but if we know it's not going to work, we maybe should put a warning, but we don't have to do any of that, because I don't think anyone's going to accidentally do this. I think when we introduce at some point we want it to default to Containerd, I believe, and that's, we would want to default then only for like Kubernetes 118 or Kubernetes 119 or Kubernetes 120, and probably only for new cluster. Well, we'd start only for new clusters or something.
Yeah, probably we will do it only with that version that we decide that's stable enough to be the default.
Yes. The thing I think might be interesting is maybe we should have a flag today or some option that lets you easily change to just use Containerd and not Docker, like a CRI flag, CRI equals Containerd or something like that. I don't know.
I agree with that. It's on the to-do list, but first wanted to get it in.
Yeah,
you know,
no, it's absolutely agree. Yes, it was like, and it was, I think, one of the bigger PRs. So I was like, that really focused on that this sprint,
yeah,
I guess.
thank you very much.
Yeah, it's great. I thank you.
So then there is no limit. If we have just defaults here. So default is still Docker. So
yes.
we don't care for now. Anyone can install it with whatever Kubernetes version he wants, but using kops 118.
Yes.
And for Docker, do you want me to do something so we don't manage at all the config file and service, or you want to actually be compatible? I mean, not change how it was before, but still manage the service.
I don't know. So, I mean, I don't know if anyone, if you have a view or if others have a view. I think we do have this idea that we don't try to, that we say, you can use, if you use kops 116 and install Kubernetes 116, and then you use kops 118 and still use your existing config, we try not to break anything except for security fixes. Or we try not to change anything except for security fixes or bug fixes. And you could argue that this is like in that sort of category. It makes me a little uncomfortable, like it's pushing it a little bit, but on the other hand, we haven't necessarily released, well, no, yeah, it's pushing it a little bit. So I don't know how other people feel about this, but if we can make it that we feel like there's no actual difference, I think that could be okay. But there is a version of Docker, if I recall correctly, where the version of Containerd changes, and that makes me a little more uncomfortable.
I will change that. I already added in.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So I will add the 1.4 for 18.9.3.
Yes, and then I'll have a look at like how, or I don't know if you know how much the the systemd unit files actually change?
I based my unit file on that and just added some nicer touches like restart if fails, because
Yes, that's a good
it's
idea.
useful.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think that's reasonable. I think that's good. I think we can put it in the release notes and maybe flush it out in alpha and beta, I guess. Because I think that sounds like a good. It's the right thing to do. It's actually a better way to install containerd. I think that makes sense. And we can see if we might have to change it down the road, but I think we should pursue what you did there. Like we should be restarting containerd, right?
It should be pretty easy at any time. If we decide that it's not what we want, we just add an if there and
Exactly.
we just install containerd, nothing managed.
Exactly right.
In
Yeah.
that part.
Or we say like we want to change the unit file to like look like it was before type thing or something like that. Yes.
Oh yeah, shouldn't be a problem.
Cool. All right. Yeah, that's great then. So I think, yeah, that actually reminds me. I think I found out that we might not be doing systemd unit file restarts correctly. Like I read there's some other option you have to do. So I'm going to like apparently they can still go into failed state. So I'm going to try to track that down. Let me write that down as an action item for myself.
We should either add a new end-to-end test or update an existing one to use containerd.
That's a great idea.
You mean a new test like the one we discussed for Red Hat 8?
Yep, just like that.
I wanted to try something like that for some time, but I think I would need to create some PR where at least I can try, changing the default to see what happens when we switch to containerd, because I think that there are some tests that expect Docker.
So it's certainly fine to add a periodic test that might not pass right away. We certainly have some of those tests that have like the right away turns into like years, which is not ideal, but is sort of a good way to track the state of these things. Like to me, that's valid signal. So I think, I guess when we talk about the rel 8 one, we can talk about like adding another one for another test for containerd configuration. And then even if that doesn't pass today, it will be interesting to understand what the failure is. I would hope it passes, but yes, we might need to exclude some different things.
Well, first thing, the flag has to be added for container runtime.
Yes, the flag, or we can use, yeah, probably a flag is the easy one. The other one we can do is this set command that we have for a while. I don't know if you've seen that.
Showed me in the Red Hat PR where it is, I think.
Yeah, we just have to add a string that gets recognized and then pipe that into a field in the manifest.
Yes, at some point I'm gonna.
Yeah, a flag is better, please.
Well, a flag is better, but like at some point I want to get that set to work correctly. Like to be not just a list of strings, but yes, like in this case, it does feel like it's a fairly important one that people might want to change, like their runtime.
Yeah, and if we want to add, it doesn't make sense to add a set entry.
If we're not going to use the set entry, we should not do it. Eventually, I keep threatening to write figure out what the language you're implementing in. Like, is this what the language you're implementing is? Like, is this JSON path? And like write the I guess expression evaluator that would like set all of them. So eventually, the hope is that set will always be supported for everything, and we won't have to do flags for things. But in this case, it feels pretty important to do the CRI. So we should expose a CRI option.
Okay.
And I think CRI would be the right term to use. Container runtime container, maybe not I. It's more like it's just the.
This is why it's container runtime and not the inter.
Right, it's not the interface. Yes.
Just runtime, maybe.
Yeah, it just feels very like factory, very like abstract.
Yes.
Like people aren't going to know what runtime means. Well, maybe they'll know what
I think
runtime means.
if you say container runtime, I think
Yeah.
that makes sense. I think that makes sense more than CR or than runtime.
Okay.
So it stays as it is for now, and when we find a better name, we just change it.
Okay, great. Shall we move on to the next topic? It's also yours, Ashwan.
Yeah, I think so. So I spent a bit of time doing some static checking, well, also fixes, but I don't think that's enabled in Pro, right?
I was confused. I thought it, I don't know. Carry on.
So my question is, there is very little left there. Maybe we should make a push to finish all the reviews there and enable it anyway in Pro, so that what we fix is not broken somehow a week from now. And I don't know, by beginning of next year we could have it very clean.
I think that's a great idea. I think that is the goal. I think that's what we've agreed is the goal. I think I'm confused as to whether or not it's checked anywhere.
It's not in a pre-submit job. We added the script to verify it, but it's not actually ran in Prow.
Okay. So yes, I think that would be great to, and the script does pass by virtue of excluding the directories, excluding more and more directories. And so if we continue with our strategy of like, let's get it in a Prow job and we can then prevent any regressions. Because I think like there was one that crept in somewhere, I think, that I saw. And so like getting it in there will stop any regressions, and then we can like continue to whittle down the directories. And as you say, I think like, thank you for your work on that. And I think others have done great work on that as well. So I think we're much closer, and I think it'd be great to get that into Prow so we don't move backwards.
Yeah, that's nice.
I don't know if you know how to do, if someone wants to take on the job of creating the job of creating the Prow job, the task of creating the Prow job.
Unfortunately, I have no idea how.
Okay. I mean, I can certainly do it and link to it, but
I may be able to get in there because I'm going to be in Prow anyway.
Okay, great. That would be wonderful. Thank you, Eric.
I did notice in Prow that they added support for defining Prow jobs in the repo being tested. That was a recent change.
Wow.
And so might make these kinds of things easier in the future.
That would be great.
That's really cool. That would be wonderful. It's very complicated. I spent my life figuring out Dan in the last few weeks.
How did they decide that was safe? Crickets. Okay. That was always like the objection in the past is like, okay, whatever. I guess like we just have to like take responsibility for our own Prow jobs, which we sort of do anyway. So yeah, if we're gonna be owners in a different repo, yes, okay. It's not safe on a PR. Maybe they figured out to run them. Maybe they figured out how to run the tests from the master branch regardless of the PR. So in other words, even if you change the test, or maybe they just run it in a better sandbox.
Yeah, I just sent a link to the comp that says it's been implemented into the chat.
Cool, in the chat? I will paste that on the in our minutes. Thank you. But that would be, yes, if we did in our repo, that would be super exciting because then we don't have to switch into another repo. And like, yeah, that would be great.
Does that mean we should move towards migrating our stuff to our own repo eventually, or is there benefit in keeping it in test and flow?
I would say we should look at putting new ones into our repo as a starting point. I suspect
and see where we go.
Yeah, I suspect there are going to be some pretty big, like this one is a great one, the static check.
Yep.
I suspect there are going to be some limitations. Like I suspect we can put things like static check in, but we can't put E to E.
Yep. Something where you might need some more sophisticated credentials.
It's the security. It's the like, yeah.
So
I just don't know. So it would be great to put this static check job in our repo and see if there's see what the downsides are.
Yeah, I'll take a look into that and I can report back.
Awesome, thank you. wow, this is turning into the Prow meeting. Peter, the next topic is around the milestone applier, Prow plugin.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of active branches and cherry picks, and we have milestones in GitHub. And I've found it helpful to tag cherry picks with milestones so that we can easily see which open PRs are targeting a specific release branch. There is a Prow plugin that does this for us automatically. So I opened a PR to enable it, and they just need other people to approve it. So if someone could do that, that'd be great.
We should get
if we agree that it's a good idea.
Yeah, we should get more people that are on this call onto that owners file in Prow, I think.
Oh yeah, because the owners file is different from. Oh yes, that's right.
I think it's Chris loving you. Maybe.
And that's not deliberate. That is just that we didn't realize that like it's a different owners file. Like it doesn't pull from our owners file. Is that true? I don't even know where the file is now. But yes, we should sync that with whatever is in our owners file. We should put into this owners file, I guess.
The test info.
Yes. I guess we shouldn't have two different owners files.
Agreed.
Yes, if you find where that file lives, if you want to update, that'd be wonderful. But I just LGC had that PR, so we'll see if that actually just goes in now. Oh, it says hold. I guess I can hold cancel. Yeah, I'll hold cancel it. All right. Thank you, Peter. That would be really great. Hackman, more periodic tests for OSs like for RHEL 8.
From what I saw, there we have CentOS 7 and Ubuntu 16.04. These are quite ancient. Is there a limit or anything?
There's no practical. It does cost money. In practice, we probably should turn down the frequency of, if we were butting against that limit, we should turn down the frequency of some of the existing jobs and just sort of like spread the money across more coverage. So I don't think there's a limit in terms of the number of jobs or in terms of like introducing this. We've talked in the past that it would be great to have more people sort of, I presume you run RHEL 8, and so like more people like identifying and championing and looking at their configuration that matters to them. So I think this is a good idea. One maybe challenge is you might have to use CentOS 8 instead of RHEL, which I presume exists, instead of RHEL 8, just because I don't know how the licensing, I don't know if there's any licensing there. Sorry?
It doesn't exist, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, but you know what, so anyway, I don't know if you should try it. I don't know if if we are able to use the RHEL 8 AMI just in that account. Like obviously, for example, if I were to create an AMI that charges $1,000 an hour, presumably Kubernetes Test Infra would not be very happy if I created a test that ran it.
The RHEL image is free. It's just the cost of infra, at least from my regular account.
Okay, that's great then. All right, so no problem. So that would be that's great.
As an idea, to get an idea, we don't run all of these distributions all the time. We do monitoring, and we have agents, and regularly we have to test that things still work or test the bug and things like that. So we bump into various issues.
That makes sense. Yeah. So yes, if you wanna try adding the RHEL 8 test, it should be very similar to the CentOS 7. You just change the image, and that would be great, I think. I imagine eventually someone will say, "Hold on, you're costing too much money." In which case, we'll just turn down the frequency a little bit.
Okay, sounds good. Anyway, the frequency 4 hours, it's a bit high, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, 24 hours would probably be more than we care about, right?
Yeah, our velocity on this is not such that we need to be checking every half an hour or something on some of these.
Exactly.
Well, probably 12 would be better because, you know, there's some time zone differences, and you know, if maybe you want to see the results same day, but
Yep.
that's just niceness. And you said that it would be nice to add one for container D, right?
Definitely.
I think so. Yes, I think that'd be really, really helpful to help us make that decision of when it's ready to be the default.
Okay. That
Yeah,
sounds
fully on
good.
board. Sounds great. Please bring it on.
Thank you. Maybe you can give me some tips
Sure.
on how to do things.
Sure thing.
Thanks.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah, more tests are always great. Peter, announcing our deprecations.
Yeah, I figured it's better to do this earlier so that we can remove them earlier. If we think that we should log a warning in kops 116, get that warning added and cherry picked back. Last week we decided, I think it was less than or equal to 1.8 is deprecated. And I was going through some of our code where we compare Kubernetes versions, and I noticed that we map, if someone doesn't specify a Docker version, we map their Kubernetes version to a Docker version, which made me think about, do we deprecate older Docker versions, or do we allow someone to, if they want to run a very old version with a more recent Kubernetes version?
I feel like the Docker versions don't cost us as much today, I'd say. I don't, but it is a terrible, terrible idea to run a super old Docker version. Like, yeah. Like they are, each version of Kubernetes is effectively recommends a Docker version. And so we are effectively deprecating those Docker versions. If you're saying, do we actually remove them? Like we never supported the Docker version. We supported the Kubernetes with the Docker version.
Right.
I'm less, I hope there's not there. I know there's some like Docker specific version logic, but there's not nearly as much. So I'd focus on the Kubernetes one, and let's get the container D and just erase docker.go. one day.
And then I couldn't think of any other dependencies that we'd want to deprecate, but if anyone else can think of some.
There are some. There's like CNI. There's a CNI thing. Again, it's very similar. It's like much smaller. Like the thing, which is the big thing, is going to be all the conditional flag logic and the flag deprecations that have taken place along the way. And that to me is the one that's like the one we really want to get rid of. And then yes, if someone wants to get rid of the logic that like maps the correct or the default CNI version for 1.6, that's fine to do as well. But I would like the big win is going to be the flag logic, I think.
Okay, so we'll say that we log a warning in kops 116 if you are specifying a Kubernetes version less than or equal to 1.8, announcing that it will be deprecated, or that it is deprecated and will be removed in 1.18, 1.19.
1.8. Like, let's go for 1.18.
118.
I can't imagine anyone's going to push back on this, but it would be like, let's be as aggressive as we can in our opening statement to see if anyone complains. If we like 1.8 feels like, I mean, like Kubernetes itself is like that version of Kubernetes is so far out of support anyway. Like, yeah.
Should we do it like with a difference thing? Like we release Kubernetes 1.18 and then 1.8, 10 versions down, that's gone. And we release 1.19, 9 goes away also.
I think that's where we want to get there. I think yes, we want to do that. I think we all would like to, we sort of talked about this a little bit, I guess, was it 2 weeks ago? But I think we'd all like to get that number 10 down a little bit. So I don't think we want to define the policy as being 10 when for Kubernetes the number is either 3 or 4. I can't remember what, like
it's
3 or
3.
it's 3. I think it might go to 4, and it's not clear exactly how you count. But like, I think that the difference between 10 and 4 is very big, and I think we'd be much happier if that was like around the 6 or 7 or 8 mark. So that's sort of I think the first step is just to take something that's so far back that no one is going to object, fingers crossed, and see who objects, and then we can. But yes, it should be rolling, but I also think we should actually try to accelerate the roll a little bit.
I agree
initially.
with that. Maybe we say that in 6 months we'll accelerate it a bit. But I don't think anyone wants to commit a new version with every new release, like, hey, we deprecate this version now. This is why I said that maybe a mechanism, something that does it automatically.
Yes, we can. I like what you said. We perhaps when we write this, Peter, we can say we will in 1.17 deprecate, or in 1.19 we'll remove support for 1.9, and 1.20 we'll remove support for 1.10, which is nice because it's 10, which is a nice round number. And then and we may also like start to accelerate that, or we will start to accelerate. We'll start to like narrow the gap over time as well, right? Because 10 versions, we can like have an intent to like, you should not be 10 versions behind sort of implication. Does that make sense? What do people think?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Are you gonna do that, Peter?
Yeah, I can tackle that.
Sweet, thank you so much. All right.
And what about feature flags like drain validate rolling update? That's been sitting there for a while.
I think it's, as far as I know, it's separate, but yes, we should, I think you brought this up. I think we're in favor of removing
Okay,
that.
nobody's been reviewing my PR, so.
Sorry. Yeah, no, it's, I know we said last time that we were going to focus on that, and I was trying to get the container D one in because it's like the biggest, and then I'm hoping to find more time this 2-week break. But yeah, like, you know, PR review is always it's a difficult balance, right? It's a difficult balance between like finding the time and trying to get the right things in. But this does, you're right, what you're talking about does feel super important. So I will try to check them. You are next on the agenda, John. Is that was there taint all nodes during roll after? This is a new feature, right? Or a new?
Well, yeah, that's a new feature. Yeah, it's kind of hard to make progress when every PR I make takes over 3 weeks to even be looked at. So. So I'm just hoping somebody can look at it and get it reviewed and get it in. Okay. So I get the next one in.
Yes.
We hear you, John.
Sorry. All right. Yes, I will try also. You know, our pull request count has gone up, which is unfortunate. I think it's gone up. It certainly hasn't gone down significantly. And I think we want to get that down. And I think I'm certainly going to try to get some reviews. But we also want to get we also want to prioritize. Yes. Okay. I haven't figured out the right priority function for PRs, to be honest. And I pretty much don't have one, and pretty much it's random. So you'll often see me do an easy PR like first thing in the morning while I'm having my cup of coffee just to get going, and then try to tackle a harder one. But I will try to tackle yours as well, John. Thank you.
What I might suggest is if there's any way you can offload the creation of PRs to contributors, because only maintainers can review, but contributors can create.
That is true. Yes, that's good. And yes, so like more of a feature like process, and yeah, that would be great. So I will look at 8.21, and I presume we have some others which I will also look at. And then I have an item on the agenda which is a note to self. that like I'm not convinced about our system to unit file restart policy because it's something I learned. And then John, you have the last item on the agenda, which is CI checks on release branches.
Yes, I noticed the merge checks on release branches are a lot shorter than on the master. So I suspect things could slip in through backports that wouldn't go into master.
That is probably true. I think Peter, did you recently enable E to E's?
Yeah, just the E to E test, not the other ones.
Yes, I think we should. I don't know why we're not on Travis on the other ones. That's odd. Maybe we do, but we should. I'm just trying to see. Like, I'm trying to put up a cherry pick PR. So it looks like, just picking one at random, it looks like we run E to E. We do run Travis, which is good. So that's the slip up, is like I've started pulling things out of Travis on the grounds that Prow is running them, but that isn't necessarily true because not all the Prow jobs run. So before I take more things out of Travis, I should make sure that what I'm taking out of Travis actually runs on the release branches. But we also should. I was thinking we should get those Prow jobs running on the release branches.
I think there's little reason to have the list be different.
Correct. The only reason is if we added a job in that was not available on the previous one. Yeah. And that has been a problem in the past, that we can always override the merge. We can always like get the signal and then say, I will choose to, like, getting the signal, you're right. It's like, there's no reason not to have the signal. And we can override the button. Well, I at least can override the button. I'm not sure in general I should have that permission, but I do have that permission. I don't know if others, I don't know if owners in general have that permission. I don't think people do, but yes. So, but we can use that as the get out of jail free card if we need to, and then review going forwards. And we have reached the end of our agenda. I don't know if we have anything else people want to bring up. Today is the 20th, which puts our next meeting on the 3rd, which is sort of a working day. It is a working day. I'll be working, so I guess we will plan on having that meeting and see if people attend. If they don't, that's a problem, but if they do, that's great. And
I was looking for a pull request review, and yeah.
which PR is it, Matt?
Sorry, I gotta switch Slacks. Hold on.
Okay. Is it your GitHub or?
Yeah, it's a 7837. It has to do with managed policies.
So I'm just scrolling.
I also wanted some feedback on like how I did that feature. So like obviously managed policies can't have like AWS tags. So I ended up having to write like my own lifecycle management for those. Basically what I did was to make it so that if the managed policy is not specified in the config file, then it just tosses it out. My logic there being that kops kind of owns that role. So you shouldn't really be like adding stuff to it without doing a kops update, but I didn't know like what some of the like project philosophies were behind that.
So is it fair to say that what you're doing here is you are, oh, I see, you're adding additional, I call them unmanaged policies because yeah, it's different, different perspective, but yes, but you're adding policies to the existing kops roles for masters and nodes and bastions, but those policies are ones that you define and that might grant like access to a RDS database or whatever it is.
100%, yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't need like an answer back right now. Like if you want to kind of mill it over, like totally acceptable. But yeah, if we could just get some conversation going about that, because I was like, that would be kind of in line with how like we do things, but I didn't want that to be disruptive for other people who might be using managed policies. But yeah, I kind of saw an avenue there where you could like over time, it would just sit there and stack these managed policies over time if you didn't like totally rebuild your cluster. And that seemed like kind of a, maybe like a security vector or something like that to me. But yeah, there's a lot to weigh there.
Okay. Yeah, I will certainly have a look at that thing. And the context is super helpful. Yeah, thank you.
I think this functionality could be a good candidate for integration tests, because those test kind of the manifest to Terraform output. So we could add something to one of the existing integration tests that uses the field and see how the Terraform changes.
I think that'd be great. Yeah, so we have, I think it's called complex. I should call it like kitchen sink or something. Like throw it in the complex test and let's have a look, because it's sort of nice as a preview. But I think, yeah, it's also interesting to think about, like, yeah, the garbage collection, as it were, on them is interesting as well. All right, thank you for the context on that, and I will try to take a look on that as well. Sorry about the delay on that one as well. I don't know if there's anything else anyone wanted to bring up, or... Oh, Matt, you have your hand up, but I don't know if that's just Zoom being Zoom.
Yeah, my question was already answered. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I haven't been paying attention. I don't know if anyone else has their hand raised now. Now you've got me having to check. I don't see any other hands raised. I don't see anyone else unmuting. So I wish everyone a very happy weekend and a very happy holiday break season, however you are spending it. And we will see everyone in 2 weeks.
Thanks all.